The empire did not conquer the world with swords alone. And when people imagine Rome, they see marble statues, disciplined legions, shields locked in symmetry beneath a burning sky. They hear the thunder of marching boots and the cold precision of iron formations stretching toward the horizon. But there was another sound on Rome's battlefields, a sound that did not belong to men. It began as a low vibration carried through dust before soldiers even appeared. A growl that moved like a warning through the air. And those who heard it understood something was coming that could not be reasoned with. The Romans called them canes pugnaces, fighting dogs, and to the enemies of the empire, they were something far worse than animals. They were the shadow of Rome itself, disciplined, relentless, and utterly unafraid. Long before Rome standardized its armor and long before emperors carved their names into stone, massive Molossian dogs walked beside Roman troops, not as pets and not as ornaments of war, but as carefully shaped instruments of dominance, selected not for beauty but for temperament, the timid removed, the uncertain dismissed, leaving only those that stood firm when startled, those that did not retreat from noise or sudden movement, and from early age they were raised in the rhythm of the camp, sleeping near armor, walking beside drills, conditioned to chaos so that confusion would never control them. They were trained to respond to silent gestures, to move through formations without breaking rank, to advance when commanded and to hold when ordered. And perhaps most unsettling of all was their discipline. They were not wild beasts unleashed in frenzy. They were controlled force, deliberate and focused, and Rome understood something powerful. Fear spreads faster than steel. So before swords ever met and before shields collided, these dogs were sometimes brought forward not to attack, but to stand, armored harnesses catching sunlight, leather reinforced with metal, studs, thick collars enhancing their already formidable presence. They did not bark wildly or lunge without command. They simply watched, and across the field, men who had prepared themselves to face soldiers suddenly found their attention drawn to something unpredictable, something that did not calculate risk, something that did not hesitate, and in that flicker of uncertainty, Rome found advantage. The dogs guarded flanks where forests threatened ambush. They moved ahead of columns in unfamiliar terrain. They stood watch in darkness where visibility vanished. And though their physical strength mattered, their greater impact lay in disruption. Horses unused to their scent shifted nervously, formations lost rhythm, attention fractured, and Rome advanced not only with iron but with psychological precision, because the empire did not simply defeat enemies, it unsettled them. In occupied territories, the presence of a war dog at a gate was not merely practical security, but a statement, a me amondi, reminder that Rome's control extended beyond men, that its discipline had been woven into every moving part of its machine. And stories spread as they always do when fear meets imagination. Whispers that the dogs wore full metal armor, that they were bred from wolves, that they could track a single rebel across impossible distance, and whether true or not did not matter. Rome never corrected such tales because legend served strategy, and over time the image of the Roman war dog grew into something larger than life, a symbol carried by rumor long before legions arrived. Yet beneath the myth existed a quieter truth, the bond between soldier and animal, because these dogs marched beside the same men for years, endured the same weather, followed the same standards, and in the stillness of camp life, they were companions. There are inscriptions carved in forgotten stone that record names of loyal dogs and simple gratitude offered by hardened soldiers, an empire known for conquest pausing, to remember a four-legged presence. And this contrast is what makes the story linger. The same creature that inspired comfort within the camp inspired dread beyond it. Perspective defining terror as much as action ever could. As Rome expanded into colder lands, the dogs adapted, fitted with thicker protection, trained for wooded terrain where visibility narrowed and surprise threatened from every direction. They became early warning systems, sensing movement before it was seen, reacting before commands were shouted, and in those narrow moments of awareness, entire columns maintained order. Yet as centuries passed, the empire evolved, cavalry tactics expanded, siege technology advanced, and slowly the war dog shifted from central weapon to supporting presence. Not because it failed, but because Rome itself had become legend. Its reputation alone capable of unsettling opposition before contact was made. Still, the image endured long after borders weakened and power fractured. Chroniclers in later centuries exaggerated tales of armored beasts that ran beside invincible legions, and other armies attempted to replicate the concept with mixed results. Because the Roman war dog was not terrifying merely due to size or strength. It was terrifying because it represented a system, disciplined, organized, relentless, a creature shaped by the same philosophy that shaped the empire. And perhaps that is the deeper truth. The dog was never the true weapon. Fear was. Rome simply understood how to shape it, how to display it, how to release it at precisely the right moment. Even now, archaeologists uncover fragments of harness fittings and metal studs buried in soil once marched upon by legions, quiet evidence of a forgotten presence that once moved just ahead of the line. And when we imagine empires, we often focus on emperors and generals. Yet history sometimes turns on quieter figures. Four-legged silhouettes against a burning horizon, disciplined forms waiting in stillness, reminding us that power is not always loud. Sometimes it does not shout or clash. Sometimes it watches, breath steady, muscles coiled, and sometimes it growls,